It's like down Main Street, and then you take a right, and it'll be on your left-hand side.
Hello and welcome back to another video feature of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. This last exchange I had was during my research visit to the shopping mall Victoria Gardens in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And at the time I found this to be quite humorous because I was doing this research on this shopping mall, and this gentleman drove by in the car and asked me how to get somewhere, and I just happened to know where the store was, which is surprising since it was my first visit. And I had given him the directions, as you heard just a second ago, to go down Main Street. And I thought this was humorous because, of course, Main Street is such a part of our consciousness and imagination, and little did I know that in this particular case I would actually be using this as a direction to give this gentleman the appropriate way to this particular store. So today I am focusing on this idea of finding Main Street, and in the case of Victoria Gardens, this very interesting shopping mall in Southern California, they actually spell Main Street one word, as you'll see certainly a bit later. And the purpose of this feature today is to give you an overview of this mall and to focus on this idea of why Main Street has such a predominant sense in our consciousness, in our popular imagination. And so we're looking at some images here. On the left is the street sign from the mall here at Victoria Gardens in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And again, the Main Street concept is very key in terms of how this mall develops its theming and approach to space. On the top right corner, that is a picture I took of my hometown in Chesterton, Indiana. As you can see there, they have very predominant focus on Main Street. And then below is an image I took at Disneyland in California just a few months ago. And this is, of course, of the iconic Main Street, USA. So these three images, I think, of Main Street give us a sense of how many ways we might think about this idea of Main Street in our everyday lives. And so certainly we could say in the upper right-hand corner, Main Street actually is a place. And if you know the story of Walt Disney growing up in Marceline, Missouri, very famously we often talk about Disney being inspired to create the space on the bottom right there, Main Street, USA, in part because he was so in love with just the heritage and the nature of his hometown. So in a sense we could say Main Street actually is a place. At the same time, though, the way Disney has constructed Main Street, as we reflect on the bottom right photo, it's also an ideology, it's a vision, it's something that's part of our consciousness, it's an aesthetic, it's an approach to values. It's certainly not just a geographical location. And then to go back to my image on the left, Victoria Gardens, the mall that I'm focusing on today, they've taken Main Street and they've used it in a new way because typically we don't see just Main Street being associated with a space like this. In the case of Disneyland, Main Street is one of many theme lands that connects the park and the guests to the overall approach of Disneyland. And I had heard quite a bit about this mall. Specifically, I had heard about how this mall took a quote Main Street approach to creating its architecture, and you could probably just see behind me there the sign up there, the news, shoe shining and hat cleaning. Of course, it's not advertising a real place. It's a use of faux architecture, right, and signage to create a sense of place. And so I want to take you around the mall a little bit and show you about this rather unique approach to utilizing the idea of Main Street in a non-Disney retail shopping space. And so this is video of my tour around Victoria Gardens, and I have to say I spent quite a few hours here, and I saw things like this. I found this to be quite amazing, a district map, and in my second video on this mall I'll talk about this a little bit more, but basically it's an old-time district map and it has reference points that you can look at. And these include everything from historical references to focus on local figures and great events and so forth. And overall, I would say that this particular approach to placemaking creates these wonderful associations that have been so powerful and resonant with us in terms of Main Street USA. Ideas like someplace being clean and charming, these harken back to what Disney created, certainly at Main Street USA at Disneyland. Also notions of the past and history, nostalgia, the idea of safety and security, such that you can go to a place and you feel safe there, you feel secure, you feel like you can coexist with others there. And going along with these notions of Main Street, or what we've seen here in terms of this construction of Main Street, are a slew of values, and I've mentioned some of these already. This idea of nostalgia, the notion of a simpler time, a better time. The world has gotten too complex, and in a contemporary world we need the reminders of Main Street. The argument would go to keep us sane, to keep us with a sense of purpose when the world seems to have gone out of control. So these are just some of the values I think that we associate with the idea of Main Street that we see here at Victoria Gardens. So we end this tour of Main Street here at Victoria Gardens in Southern California with this sped up drive through the majority of the streets that connect this very interesting mall in Southern California. So please come back for additional video features about Victoria Gardens, as well as other immersive and theme spaces from around the world.